been a while since we talked about the Rona, but as you know, I got the vax, but I also got infected. And clearly the Delta strain, the dominant strain, is evading the vax to some extent. And I want to explain that. Some people are saying that vaccines are not designed to stop infection. They're only designed to prevent illness. And that's not true. That's very misleading. So vaccines are what vaccines have always been. If you get an illness, a virus that replicates very quickly in your body, then it can cause symptoms, illness symptoms, and your immune system takes time to recognize this invasion and then to adapt itself to be able to attack it. And any immune system oversimplification is just that. It's a very complicated. There's a lot of interplay and things that I don't think. No one can really predict what the immune system's going to do. We just have to observe it. But there's one aspect of it, again, oversimplification, but there's parts, your antibodies, that attack a virus directly. And those are intending, ideally you want those to be neutralizing, meaning they stop the virus in its tracks. When it comes into your body through your airway, it's recognized. The receptors are attached to the receptors, prevents it from being able to infect other cells, and ultimately, kills it. It's not really alive, but that's why they say neutralizes. There's another part. So if we call that your first line of defense, then the other part is once the virus attaches to your cells, it replicates until the cell ruptures, and then all these viruses are released into to go do it more. So there's another part of your immune system that detects these infected cells, and it goes after your cells, in a sense, attacks your cells, or tries to, all this is to protect your body. So it's that second part that they say typically causes symptoms, right? It's your immune system attacking your body's cells that are infected with the virus. So the whole idea behind a vaccine is to introduce something that resembles the real virus as much as possible, so that your immune system, when it learns it, when it trains to it and adapts to it, builds up antibodies and immunity, then it will be prepared for the real virus. So when the virus comes along, it already knows it already recognizes it, it already has the ability to fight it, it attacks it immediately and stops it. So it's a race in a way. It's a race between your immune system and the virus. Now, you could have a weakened immune system that it's not just a matter of, so it's not just a race, it's speed and efficacy. So how effective your immunities are and how fast they respond. Well, so obviously the ideal vaccine would create neutralizing antibodies. You don't get infected because as soon as the virus enters your system, in this case your airway, it's immediately attacked, stopped from spreading. So you're not contagious, you don't get infected, nothing. This was pretty much the case for the original variant for vaccinated people and young children. There are always exceptions, but that's pretty much what was happening. They were not getting infected and they weren't spreading the virus to other people. Well, Delta has now partially evading the vax. So what is happening is, from what I understand, from some things I read, I wouldn't say this is conclusive, but for some reason your antibodies, your immune system is stronger inside your body, say in your lungs, than it is in your airway. One scientist I was reading was talking about the blood barrier. So antibodies in your blood are more effective at, going after pathogens in your lungs as opposed to in your airway, where the airway. So, the Delta is apparently mutated, so it's adapted to evade somewhat, and you have some waning efficacy of the antibodies, the immunity that we've built up. So what's happening with Delta, it's getting in your airway. I had mostly sinus symptoms, so it's able to go in there, it's attaching to cells, and it's replicating in those cells. So I have or had coronavirus, COVID, replicating in my airways. So you get inflammation, you get all the sinus symptoms because my immune system is attacking those cells. And this goes on for, days, better part of a week. But here's the interesting part, right? I didn't get a fever, and most people aren't. Well, I shouldn't say most people aren't. Most people are having a mild illness. Most vaccinated people who get this are having a mild illness. And I can tell you it's like the cold. So the virus is in there, it's replicating. So think about this. I'm contagious because the virus is replicating in my sinuses, and when I exhale, virus particles come out. And if somebody is in, close enough, they inhale those, and they get affected, and it happens. Well, think about what else is happening. When I inhale, I am inhaling every breath that I take in. I am taking in a lot more of the virus into my lungs than I would ever get from any person. Every breath in, every intake, for a period until this thing stops, replicating in my sinuses, I'm inhaling that stuff into my lungs. So, it's like somebody has this coronavirus generating machine, and they're blowing it right in my face, and I'm inhaling these viruses every time I inhale. But no symptoms in my lungs. Okay? Why? Well, that part of your immune system that neutralizes the virus, it stops the virus before it can attach to cells, is working in my lungs. It's not working up here, but it's working down here. So that's preventing me from getting any kind of a serious illness. Now, it is possible that another variant comes out and evades the immunity even more, and you get a lot sicker. But I just think this helps me when you have this virus and you're feeling these things to kind of know what's going on. I have a localized infection of the SARS-CoV-2 virus in my sinuses, but my immune system is effectively protecting my lungs and the rest of my body because I am not having any symptoms. And now children are getting this. I caught it from young children, 6 and 8 year olds. Their symptoms lasted one day. They didn't have any kind of sinus virus. Their symptoms were GI, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, very low-grade fever, one day. What is that? I think that is a generalized immune response. So in other words, they're not vaccinated. They have immune systems that react quickly and strongly, effectively, to eliminate the virus. In the original strain, kids really were not getting infected. There are always exceptions, and by the way, we're only getting the exceptions in the news. So people that are getting infected like me, you're not get infected. Tell somebody you're infected, and we'll find out how many people come back. Me too. People don't want to talk about it. There's a stigma because we're blamed, or somehow it's our fault. But you'll find out there's a lot of people out there that haven't or had it and didn't tell anyone. So where was so the kids with the original strain, they were not getting infected, they were not transmitting the virus. There were exceptions, but the data is overwhelming. Well, now with Delta, it's getting through. So it is evading that first line of defense. But I think in kids, it's not even affecting their sinuses. I think that the vomiting, nausea, the GI stuff, and the fever is a generalized immune response. So their immune system is so strong, I believe it's eradicating the virus very quickly. But what they're experiencing really is their body's immune system, just a general whole body saying, whoa, there's an invader here. It ratchets up temperature, kicks in some vomiting and things like that. So I think that's what's going on. And that's kind of one of my hypotheses my layman's theory on why the vaccines were having an extreme reaction in young children, because their first line of defense is very strong, that they're stopping the virus. And when you inject the virus into their muscle, you're bypassing that. You're forcing it into their body to replicate in their cell, and their immune system just goes off. So I think it may be in cases where you have very strong, very effective, not autoimmune, but a very strong, very effective immune system, it's a little sketchy when you bypass the first line and inject it into their muscle. That I believe might be what's happening with the kids. So in essence, I would never, you never want to intentionally expose anyone, because you don't know when they're going to have a serious outcome or who they're going to give it to and that sort of thing. But, if a young kid does get infected and gets through it, like my grandkids have, then as far as I'm concerned, they're better off than if they got a vax. I don't want them anywhere near a vaccine. Let that thing go for a couple of years in young kids and make sure that it's proven, because they have immunity now. They're good to go. They have a much safer form of immunity than if we would have injected them. And, that's fact, because even the FDA will not issue an emergency use authorization for the vaccine in children under 12. They won't do it because it's unsafe. Now, it's a relative. It's just like the one for adults. It's the risk versus the benefit. And there's really little benefit in children, and the risk was there. So anyway, there's your coronavirus for the day. I mean, I will say another thing is, it's hard to do this if you don't actually have the infection, but go to the health department, the local health department, the CDC, and look at the protocol. And if you can put yourself in that position, say, okay, I have to follow this protocol. So you get infected, you're like, no matter how much you know about the data, the statistics, and the low risk and everything else, the fear is so much through the media. We see all these extreme cases constantly that you just can't help. You have a certain dread. I mean, I had a whoa, like this kind of sinking feeling at first. Like, what's up? I mean, am I going to be one of those? That sort of thing. I had to actually tell myself, no, you're good. This data shows that it's doesn't do any good to worry about it, right? But so then look at the health department, look at the CDC. What do I have to do? Okay, I had symptoms, I tested positive, so what do I have to do now? There's like that much on how to take care of yourself, how to treat your illness and make sure, that much. Everything else is on spread. And the main takeaway from all of the expert health department guidance on if you get infected is most people are fine. If you have it, you're going to have a mild illness. You'll get through it. No doctor. No, you don't need anything. Just stay home. Take care of yourself. Everything's going to be fine. That's literally the message from the health departments. Now, let me tell you, that's not the message you get if you're not looking at it from that perspective. The message you get from the media and everything is this is the... Now, so what's the problem? I said this early on. The virus spreads quickly. So even though you have a small percentage of people that are going to have serious outcomes, that becomes a large number because of how many people get it so quickly. That and the chances of mutation into more dangerous forms, the more it spreads, that kind of thing. So spread is the big concern. Illness, now they'll give you the checkbox. There's 4 or 5 symptoms. If you have these sorts of symptoms, seek medical help immediately. It's, oxygenated blood, trouble breathing, this and that. You need to go to a hospital. So there's those, checklist of items. But again, clearly the message is if you're not having those serious symptoms, just hang out at home. You'll be fine. Call your doctor if you want. They're probably not going to see you. Some people are like, oh, you got to take hydroxychloroquine, you got to take ivermectin, you got to take it early. I didn't really want to take it because I felt like, this is a feels like a cold to me. I think it's going to be mild. It's going to go away. And if I had taken something like that, then I would be one of those people who go, hey, I took that and it cured it in 3 days. I was thinking, I'm going to cure it in 3 days without that. So, once you take it, like I'm vaxxed, so I can only experience the symptoms of someone who's had the vaccine. I can't say what it would have been like for me had I not had the vaccine. So, even the people who claim to not be afraid, they show a sense of fear when they find out you're infected or they're infected, and they talk about, gotta take something, gotta do something, you gotta catch it early, Well, if it's nothing to be afraid of, then you don't need that. So again, I mean, that conditioned fear, it's in there. It's really, even if you know that's what's happening, even if you know the data points to something, it affects you. So that's just who we are. That's how we are. Our brains work. So don't fear. I would not be surprised to find out that we're going to see a lot of kids bringing this home from school. That's what happened to me. I think it's, mask or no mask. Yeah, mask can help limit how many people get it, lessen the number, but it's going to happen. I mean, that's another myth out there. People believing that if you wore a mask, you'd be 100% clean. You're safe. No, it doesn't work that way. And that's part of the reason why when someone gets infected, they're like, well, did you wear a mask? Did you do this? Did you do that? They're looking for their way to blame you. Well, I mean, it's a virus. It's going to spread. It's going to do what viruses do. So, anyway, nothing to fear. Read the Allegheny County Health Department, the CDC, and just don't worry about it. If you get it, you get it. You can't go back. So I'm happy. I got my booster. That's my booster now. I'll guess. All right. Guess that's all I got for today. Have a good one.